We got a good sign early on. TJ Warren is working on his low post game. I think he's got some potential as a back-to-the-basket scorer. Because when you already got the mid-range and you have a decent handle, as well as some ability of finishing at the basket, and you just have that craftiness gene to you, I think posting up is a natural progression. So hopefully TJ can become something there, because, I don't know, he could be our own version of Adrian Dantley, basically. It'll be like the 1980s, but in 2018. Josh Jackson is also a hot topic here. He had a very good game against the Los Angeles Clippers, of course, one where I got destroyed, but he showed some good signs, and I'm seeing that he is working on the jumper in practice, working on his pull-up jumpers, which is a little suspect. I think he should mainly be mastering the ability to just hit spot-ups, but, you know, if you want to get some off-the-dribble action going, sure. He did have one three-pointer in this game against the Clippers, of course, and like I mentioned a moment ago, the overall game was working for Josh Jackson, and I think after one game, I'm going to say that he has been our best player. Devin Booker is our best player, but in this one game that I've played, Josh Jackson's been number one, so if that makes any sense. Before I also said that Alex Len is someone we'd have to make a decision on, you know, what would he get paid and all that. He's making the decision for us. He's asking for way too much money, is the best way to put it. I'm not giving him that much dough. Which means now Marquise Chris has all the opportunity in the world at the center position. Because once again, I don't see him at power forward. Like, you got to be a 4 who can dribble or shoot, or you're Taj Gibson at this point, you know? And he's not even Taj Gibson because he doesn't have that physicality or that defense. Here are some other things if Marquise Chris ends up not working out. In this upcoming free agency, there are a couple of centers who are good defensively, who are, you know, could be free agents. I know Ekpe Udoh's got a team option, but he's someone who we could have in there. I really have no problem with having a lower usage center who's just like defense first. If we just have a lot of offense around them, kind of like a center by committee sort of thing. Another center is Dwayne Dedmon, who I believe is unrestricted, or he's got a player option or something. I don't know. But either one of those guys I think could work in replacement of Alex Len, and maybe they could start over Marquise Chris because they're better defensively, but then we could still have Chris be the backup 5 who we mold into something. I don't know if he could ever start. I should also talk about Nerlens Noel a little bit because it's kind of a natural thing you would expect, especially coming from me. Here's the thing with Nerlens, like, okay, sure, he does have some potential and abilities offensively, but he's a little overrated as a defender at this point. Number one, he's not a good post defender because he's skinny as hell, so he could get bodied by a lot of guys, and, you know, similar to Marquise Chris, Nerlens has to play center because doesn't have the offensive stuff to really go at power forward. But he's also been disappointing as like a pick and roll defender. And I mean, sure, he might be farther along on that type of thing than his low post defense. But even that really isn't that impressive at this point, to where I might just want to get someone who's a sure thing like Dwayne Dedmon as opposed to another potential guy. Because, like, I've already got to mold like 5 different players on this team. I don't want to take on Nerlens Noel too, you know what I mean? Now, of course, none of this means anything if we end up drafting like DeAndre Ayton in round 1, or Marvin Bagley, or whatever may have you. But if we went with someone like a Trae Young, then this would be a very interesting conversation. Now, speaking of free agents, Elfrid Payton has decided he's going to test free agency. And he is expecting about $8 million, which is also too much money. I may need to turn down the contract difficulty negotiation thing, just because in real life, Elfrid Payton's not going to make that much money, and I think 2K believes that he should because, the cap went up and all that. Anyway, on the docket today, 5 simulated games, but actually we have a little bit of news first I have to dive into. Number 1, Kawhi Leonard is back with the San Antonio Spurs because Basketball Reference tells me early March, so I put him back in the game in early March. And Darren Collison is also back for the Indiana Pacers as well. So good for those guys. I figured I'd give you a little update of things going on around the NBA and not just have us be in our own little bubble. But anyway, does the simulator like us? We lose to the Clippers. Well, that one already happened. Lost to the Blazers is good. Oh no, we beat the Pelicans and then we destroyed the Grizzlies. Are these good things? I don't know. Hopefully we lose a couple more here because, of course, we're trying to tank, so we don't want to win games too much. Best in all positions because we're too bad to have a preference right now. A close loss to OKC, and I believe we lost to the Hawks as well, but I don't know why the hell I didn't have that. Anthony Davis didn't really do much against us, so I have to assume that we double-teamed the guy like crazy to the point where we were totally content with leaving each one more open at the top of the key, and it didn't matter because it meant that Anthony Davis didn't shoot the ball, which I guess is a defensive strategy that works, apparently. Darius Miller had quite a game against us, though. 30 points, and not all of them were three-pointers. Whenever I've watched the Pelicans this year, which has been at least a somewhat decent amount, I don't think Darius Miller has missed a single shot. He's in the Otto Porter school of never missing. However, we have our own star player in Devin Booker, who was way better in this game than he was when I was controlling him for the Clippers, and then TJ Warren was his second in command on this one. It was an offensive shootout, and I'm not going to bank on us winning too many of these games. Well, I'm not going to bank on us winning many games, period. But I think it's a nice little thing to see that in a big game, our two main scorers could show up. And it helps that their main scorer didn't at all. This jersey looks like a Knicks jersey, so I see Tyson Chandler and I just see the 2012 Knicks. That was the team that won the 54 games, right? Anyway, if I can not get off topic. A little nugget here. Dragan Bender grabbed a decent amount of rebounds. He's a starting power forward for us because he can shoot threes and do some stuff off the dribble. I mean, strength and weight. That's what it is with him. I think the other things in terms of talent are going to come pretty naturally, so the rebounds are a good sign. Josh Jackson shot the ball way too much. 12 attempts for him. Now, he was 2 for 3 on threes, so apparently my narrative of him not being able to shoot is a complete joke, because the dude is knocking down everything in sight at the moment. But the overall offense seems he might have been a little too ambitious. Perhaps in the future, it would be smart for us to lower his shot tendencies, because he might just be taking on a little bit more than he can actually handle right now in terms of shot attempts. Because that offensive game is going to be a work in progress with him, no doubt about it. If we can then see the Grizzlies game, the blowout, I'm only going to look at one thing. Troy Daniels, very good from 3. I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that Troy Daniels is on this team forever. Because shooting, man. Like, is Troy Daniels that great of a player by himself? No, but you put the element of spacing, and whenever the ball goes in for him, it equals another point on the board. Well, suddenly it becomes decently important for us. And I do like the potential of him with Devin Booker. And hell, if we end up drafting like Trae Young or Michael Porter Jr., and we have some sort of lineup with all 3 of those guys, that's a lot of shooting, a lot of offense. Against the OKC Thunder, Josh Jackson also just not good at all from the field. And this time he was a little bit more realistic with his 3-point shot, but he was also attempting 7? Come on, man. Like, you can't be shooting that many threes. We got to go into the tendencies. We got to tell him to stop shooting the ball so much. The life and times of Josh Jackson. We see the ups, we see the downs. I hope someone realizes that the title and the thumbnail is a reference to Jay-Z's album from 1998 or whatever it was. This is what I do to entertain myself when I know that this series is going to be like 45 episodes long. Devin Booker keeps on doing his thing. Where was Porzingis when the Knicks series was going on? He wasn't putting up these points. Devin Booker is doing what I want him to do. I'm pretty sure it's because no one else on this team has a shot tendency higher than like 75. I think TJ Warren's is like 70 flat, and then everybody else is lower. Apparently Josh Jackson's is too high, though. I mean, no Andre Robertson for OKC. Not surprising that Devin Booker would just go off. We managed to hold Russell Westbrook to only 10 shot attempts. So now we have Anthony Davis, who didn't want to shoot the ball against us, and Russell Westbrook, who didn't want to shoot the ball against us either. Now, both of those are pretty unlikely. I guess Anthony Davis a little less unlikely because Russell Westbrook shooting the ball is potentially the most likely thing in the world. But I don't know. Maybe we got Westbrook on a weird night where he was like, you know what? I'm going to go for a triple-double, and it's going to be 10 points. Except he didn't get the triple-double, and it was also more than 10 points, so that didn't make any sense. With our 20 victories, there's not many teams worse than us, which is good. There's the Mavericks, who have one less victory than we do. And all the teams in the East have one more win than us, so we are in prime position to get the number 1 overall pick, which would be huge for us, of course. Some more news. Paul Millsap back with the Denver Nuggets, so we're going to have to see how his post-up style fits in with a team that loves to have cutters and three-point shooting and Jokic doing things that centers are not supposed to do. Also, Dante Exum is back with the Utah Jazz. Hopefully he can finally just have some extended time on the court because injuries are terrible. And Reggie Jackson back with the Pistons. We can see how he can mix in with Blake Griffin and Andre Drummond and all that good stuff. I would say what we learned here today in this video is that Josh Jackson's kind of weird. Because he had the good game when I played against the Clippers, and he was also solid one of the games that I simulated that I don't remember. But then he also shot the ball a million times, and he shouldn't have been shooting the ball that much. So his tendencies are going down a little bit. But I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued by Josh Jackson, a multi-position guy, an athlete, defender. We saw that when the jumper's rolling, he can be pretty impressive. Good stuff, man.